Man, to think I made such a big deal about never having to use Dailymotion ever again because we were finally out of the black and white missing episodes era. Of course, I failed to take into account that if I don't actually own the story on DVD or Blu-ray, I'm kinda stuffed. So, back to that horrid website I go, and...
Hate is a very strong word. I despise Dailymotion.
Doctor Who and the Silurians is the second serial of the show's 7th season. That's a tongue twister. After easing us in with a nice, humble 4-parter, it's straight into the 7-episode serials with this one. And yes, I fell asleep like I always do while watching classic Doctor Who. I'm sorry, I don't know why, I can't help it. Anyway, you wouldn't have wanted to miss a single episode back in 1970, or you'd be really lost here. And heck, even when watching this for the first time now, I got this weird sense that they had sort of fast-tracked a few elements, like the new Doctor and Liz's companion relationship, and the fact that the Doctor just works with UNIT now. Like, they introduced this new dynamic in Spearhead in Space, and then just went, right, that's it, no getting accustomed to it, it is what it is, and it is it. I just want to take a moment and just ask, like, does that make sense what I've said? Like, I knew that the whole Earth-based working with UNIT story stuff was coming, but, like, it kind of broke conventions, and, like, there weren't the normal things you'd see with a new Doctor and new companion dynamic. Like, sure, this one technically follows up after the Spearhead from Space, but, like, the very opening of the episode, like, the Doctor's working on his car and Liz is just there and they're having banter and stuff, like, there's familiarity, like, they've just known each other for ages, so it's like, was there, like, a modern-day TV show like The Walking Dead has time skips? Was there a time skip or something? Like, they immediately click, and everything's immediately, like, the new status quo. There's no adjustment period. It's like, you've had your 4 episodes to get used to it. Here it is. It's a whole new feeling of the show. Little tangent over. Like I said, I hope that makes sense. If it didn't, I apologise. Right. I gotta say, I don't particularly like what they've done with the Doctor and the Brigadier's relationship so far. Remember back when the second Doctor bumped into the Brigadier for the second time in the invasion after meeting him first in the Web of Fear? Like, he was so excited to see him, like catching up with an old friend. And there was a mutual positive energy between them. Well, now they just constantly bicker and argue and go head-to-head against each other. That's something I really hope they change soon, because I hate to think of Briggs as a foil to the old Doc. So anyway, what's this one about? Well, if it wasn't obvious, this is the Silurians' debut in classic Doctor Who. They are reptilian creatures that used to be the dominant species on Earth before going on a nice 5,500 year hibernation. And because I don't have that nifty Beneath the Surface box set, I had to watch this crusty VHS rip copy on Dailymotion. Good, great, top-notch picture and sound quality, thanks BBC. The plot, on the other hand, while serviceable, isn't particularly original. Oh, shock horror. If you've seen the modern series Silurian episodes with Matt Smith, then it's essentially the same conundrum. The lizard folk, they want to come back up to the surface, but they're not sure whether they want to conquer the world or come to a peaceful cohabitation with the humans. So it's up to the Doctor to broker an agreement between a peaceful lizard leader and the stupid apes, as they like to refer to mankind. Stupid ape sounds about right. It is astonishing just how much the Hungry Earth and Cold Blood lifted straight from this story. Although I can't very well criticise this serial for being similar to something that came out 40 years later. But what I can do is point out how they also copied the Sensorites, and probably others in a few ways. In one key area, both the Sensorites and the Silurians are led by a kind-hearted, wise leader who's willing to come to a compromise and live peacefully with the opposition, but are backstabbed by a trusted underling who takes over the bad guy faction and wants to wipe out the good guy faction and blah 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 blah, like it's the same thing. Look, if you don't mind a few familiar elements in your classic Doctor Who, you'll probably be able to sit through this one in one go alright. I know I did. And hey, just when I thought it might start to get boring after 5 episodes, they introduce a new threat that is a plague virus to the plot. Yeah, there's a great meme video about how a scene from this serial accurately predicts idiotic anti-vaxxers in the modern day. I would love to play you that clip in its entirety, But then the BBC, boop, copyright, done. So I'll just link it down below, maybe in the top corner if I can figure out how to do that. Aside from the cool creature designs that would carry on into future serials, there's also another couple of classic staples that get introduced here. For instance, Bessie, the Third Doctor's faithful, garish yellow car that sticks out like a sore thumb in the streets of London. There's also the first mention of the neutron flow, but we'll get back to that one day, I promise. Also, the Doctor is just apparently a speed drawer. You know, just scribble on a page for a couple of seconds and voila, art. Oh, and how about a little meme of my own? That Silurian bad guy must have influenced Captain Phillips.
Look at me, sure. Look at me, sure. I'm the captain now.
I am the leader now.
I was just thinking about how memes age over time and thinking about how, didn't Captain Phillips come out like 10 years ago? And then I remembered, I have the Blu-ray. I don't think I've ever watched it on Blu-ray, but I have it. Classic Doctor Who reviews, everybody. Just me randomly remembering I have 10-year-old movies on Blu-ray. And that's pretty much my thoughts on the story. Sure, you might find it funny that they managed to cure a global pandemic in the span of a single episode, and yeah, your ears will probably bleed with the return of the blisteringly loud sound effect, this time being that heinous beeping noise, whatever it was supposed to be. But continuing with the trend of convincing sets, higher production values, and the now commonplace brilliant acting, this is a must-watch for any seasoned viewer. Newcomers, just be kind to the costumes. It is still 70s sci-fi after all. And thus concludes the review. Thank you very much for watching. Be sure to tune in next week while we take a look at the Ambassadors of Death. Ooh, spooky. If you're curious about the shirt I wore this week and last week, I thought the song would be out by now. It's a song by Holloway, my favourite New Zealand band. If the song ever comes out, I will link it down below. But until then, just stay awesome.